Strategies, welcome to the channel if you're new or if you're not. I'm Alicia and I am stoked you're here, especially today because I have spent the last month trying out the Noom app and I'm so excited to share my feedback with you. This video was sponsored by Noom, and when they first came to me and asked me to do this video, I was hesitant because I thought it was a diet app, which just doesn't align with my personal values. I agreed to test out the app for myself and I was happy to find that it actually fits right in with what I believe. Noom is on a mission to help people live healthier lives by changing long-term habits. It is a health app unlike anything else I've seen because weight loss is not the focus, it is just the start. The real goal is to learn how to eat rather than getting caught up in what. I talked about that a little bit last month in my mindful eating video. There are a lot of things I loved about the app and there are some things that I don't love. I am going to give you my honest opinions about my experience, the good and the bad. What I love most is how they help you develop healthy habits using cognitive behavioral therapy and a mindfulness approach, and it is all customized to your needs. They meet you where you're at. When you sign up, they take you through a demographic profile and ask questions about your personal situation, habits, and preferences before providing a custom plan. This is all useful, but the way Noom teaches is what I really appreciate. I wanted to share one of the first lessons that Noom presented me with, and that is the elephant and the rider. It's a lesson that creatively tells the story of your inner elephant, that voice that convinces us to make less healthy decisions like eating an extra bag of chips, and the rider, the inner self that is rational, analytical, and in control. The rider knows what's best, but the elephant often takes charge because the elephant is our emotional and impulsive side. The lesson encourages us to make a plan that helps our rider tame that elephant. The analogy really stuck with me, and that's because, like I said earlier, Noom's approach is rooted in cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. If you aren't familiar with CBT, it's a therapeutic approach that focuses on challenging our unhelpful ways of thinking and learned behavior patterns so that we can change how we think and behave. So basically, CBT helps us step back from our thoughts, and with that cognitive distance, we can develop healthier behaviors in response to our thoughts and feelings. CBT can help us challenge unhelpful thoughts like, today was stressful, I deserve potato chips, and recognize that this distorted thinking actually doesn't help us feel better, that what we need in that moment isn't about the food. In that way, Noom helps us become aware of our thoughts and understand our impulses so we can more easily make decisions that align with our truth. Above all, the wealth of information you get access to every single day is what makes Noom so valuable. Every feature may not be needed for every individual, but the daily lessons are sure to have something for everyone. They revolve around basic nutrition and weight loss, psychology and habit change, and motivation and sustainability to give you well-rounded information to approach this health journey with confidence. The information is presented in a digestible, easy to understand way, and I love how so many lessons are rooted in science or based on scientific studies. But it's not just the information that makes it great, it is the way that the app gets you to engage with the content to really learn the concepts through practice with guidance and accountability. One of the first lessons they went into was about behavior chains, explaining how we most often develop negative habits subconsciously, but we can rewrite those patterns to break the habits by tracing them back to the trigger. A trigger leads to a thought, which leads to an action, and then to a consequence. The lesson guided me to choose a bad habit like overeating, which is the habit or action. It then prompted me to engage through its questions and a quiz and trace it back. So what are the thoughts I have that lead to overeating? What triggers that thought? It helped me map out my behavior chain so that I can address the root cause, emotional eating. So rather than focusing on changing the action because I know I should, which is so rooted in judgment and will only keep me stuck, the app helps me mindfully learn where my attention would be better suited. I love that Noom incorporates mindful eating. So mindfulness has changed my life and my relationship with food. It is a part of why I was so intrigued with Noom. They integrate mindful eating tips to help us learn to listen to our bodies and respond rather than making choices on autopilot. This gives you so much power in your relationship with food and health. Breaking it down with these mindful lessons and approaches helps change feel doable. Another aspect of Noom that I liked was the access to a goal specialist who's trained in CBT. This interaction is one-on-one with someone who is there specifically to help you define and work toward goals that align with your specific needs. This is why most apps and many programs don't work. We never actually get to the root of the problem and learn to take on healthy habits once and for all. Your goal specialist Specialist is there to provide customized information that supports your current goals and needs and advise and encourage you along the way. For instance, when I did that behavior chain lesson and I found that emotional eating was one of my triggers, I brought it up with my goal specialist and she was able to provide me with a chart breaking down physical and emotional hunger cues. Now this is additional information that's not just on the app when you log on, but she sent it to me specifically because it was one of my personal issues. Still, the goal is ultimately to improve our relationship with food, so tracking food is sort of part of it. They've developed their own food tracker and color system. Logging your food is actually so easy because of their database and their scanning features, and it's far better than other apps I've used to track food in the past. They use a color system as a teaching tool to help people understand the caloric density of foods. Now, this is not a list of which foods are good or bad or yeses and nos. That would go against everything that Noom stands for, and me too. The point of the system is to help users learn how much fuel foods provide so that we can better determine how much of certain foods we may want on our plate. Arbitrary portion sizes don't help us. So when we learn to mindfully listen to our body and use our basic nutrition knowledge, these decisions become more natural and less stressful. The other thing I liked about the food tracker is that it focuses on more good. So eating more green foods like fruits and vegetables, and it never told me to eat less of anything regardless of the color. Each Noom user also gets assigned to a support group with a coach as a system of built-in accountability. You have 24/7 access to talk to people or post in the group, and it really builds a sense of community. Not to mention, it is a great place to share and get ideas. Now, like I said earlier, every single feature in Noom may not be for everyone, but there's so much to work with that you don't need them all. I personally am not a group check-in person. My personality type doesn't really need that accountability. I much prefer the individual relationship with the goal specialist and the lessons. But I know some people who love the group. I actually found out about Noom from my mom last year because she started using it and fell in love, and she has really connected and learned so much from her group. So Noom offers a lot of good, but it's not perfect. And it's not really because they've done something wrong, but because every single human is different. Everyone's relationship with food is going to differ, and so we all need to address it a little bit differently. So not everything resonated with me, and I'm gonna share what some of those things were now. When I first signed up for Noom, I was anxious and a little bit upset by their ask for me to weigh in daily. I have struggled with my relationship with food in the past, and I know for me personally, this weighing in every single day is not valuable and it's not productive for me mentally. That being said, they do a great job of giving the research and science on why this is important for behavior change. And for someone whose goal is to lose weight, then it might be needed in some fashion. But my goal was not weight loss. It was to improve my relationship with food. And when I told my goal specialist about my aversion to weigh-ins, she totally agreed and actually said, no problem, just don't do it. And I was relieved and reassured that I was still on track. I was also averse to the calorie budget that they provided, which seemed a little bit low and also arbitrary, considering we can't really calculate exact calorie needs for each individual. But we've got to start somewhere, and especially for weight loss, it is important to understand calories and macronutrients. So I see why this is integrated, although it may not be relevant to every person. Again, my specialist told me not to worry about it, and I was happy to see that the app never brought negative attention to me going over my calorie budget almost every single day. It just encouraged me to keep focusing on more green foods. The last con, in my opinion, was that over the first few weeks, the goal specialist was not as responsive and available to help me. Now, I will say, after the first 2 weeks, which is the trial period, they started to get more responsive, and it makes sense, right? So once they know you're committed to investing in yourself and really taking this journey seriously, they become more available. But during the first few weeks, I didn't get as much from them as I would have liked. I was glad to see that it picked up though. Remember, the beautiful thing about Noom is that the information, the tools, and the guidance are abundant. So even if you find one feature less helpful for your personality or learning style, it makes no impact on all of the other features that might be more valuable for you. Overall, I was really impressed with the Noom app and the service it provided. I wouldn't have agreed to make this video if I didn't think that it could help people. And like I said, it really aligns with my current goals of wanting to help others heal their relationships with food. I really believe that healing comes from spending a little bit more time and attention on the how of eating and less energy on the what. Thanks to Noom for sponsoring this video. I really do hope that they can help some of you with your journey to a healthier relationship with food. If you want to take a free 30-second quiz, head to Noom.com and follow them on Instagram @Noom. I will be back later this week with a brand new video. And remember, I think it's fitting to say this now more than ever before, it's all a matter of mind over munch.